Welcome to the Vanilla to Vixen podcast. This show contains adult content, so if you are under 18 or easily offended, please switch off now. Mr. and Mrs. N are not qualified relationship counsellors. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Now the disclaimer is out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy our journey from Vanilla to Vixen.
Welcome to episode 121 of Vanilla to Vixen. We are your hosts, Mr. and Mrs. N, and also on special occasions we're also known as
the Naughty Couple.
Hello, Mrs. N.
Hello, Mr. N.
We are back again. I can't believe a week has already passed.
It's flying by.
I know it is.
Santa will be coming with his sack any time.
He'll be coming to empty his sack. We had the big O. Last week.
We did have the Big O.
The Big O, Roy Orbison. Oh, we've got a message actually about last week's show.
Have we?
About the orgasms, yes. Somebody has written into us, bless them, and they've said that they had a different type of orgasm. We'll come to that in a little bit.
Okay.
But this episode is all about the Big M.
It is about the Big M.
Which is probably not quite as joyous for the ladies.
No.
The menopause.
Yes.
And sometimes it's called men times pause. But we're going to show you a different way today. We're going to give you tips on why your sex life shouldn't stop at the menopause time.
Absolutely. So, guys, don't switch off and think this isn't for you. This is totally for you as well as the ladies.
I guess one of our big questions that we always get asked is, my wife has lost interest in sex, or how do I get my wife into this? And considering that the majority of swingers are around the sort of 30, 40, 50 age bracket.
Yeah. Sort
of mostly 40s, 50s, a lot of them. That's the kind of the time that the Big M can hit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So this could be a useful show. Stick around. and talking of little stories about menopause, and there's a lady who was going through the menopause, walked into a shop, and she was going to buy some dog food, and she went up to them, got dog food, went to pay for it, and the cashier said, "You can't buy that dog food. We need evidence that you have a dog." So she was quite annoyed. So she brought a dog in a few hours later and said, "There's my dog." She collected the dog food and went. Next day, the same lady went to get her cat food, and the cashier said, "I'm sorry, you can't just buy cat food, and we need evidence that you have a cat." The lady's like really pissed off now. Menopausal, she doesn't need this shit in her life. So she goes home, gets a cat, says, "There's my cat. Where's my cat food?" Pays for her cat food, goes. Next day, the lady went in again, and she had a little box with her, a little cardboard box with a little hole cut out of it. And she went up to the cashier, and she said to the cashier, "There, put your finger in it." So the cashier was a little bit tentative and thought, "Oh, okay. She's clearly pissed off. I've pissed this lady off." Puts her finger in it, and she went, "Oh, yes, it's warm and soft." And she went, "Yes, it is. Now can I have some toilet paper, please?" Don't mess with a menopausal woman.
Absolutely.
There you go.
That was funny, Mr. N. Very good.
So before we move on to our big M, our big main event, I'm going to read out the letter that we've had. We had such a great response last week to the orgasms and the big O's. And this is from Lottie, who are Marbella, I think, 69 on Fab. And they did say that we could, it's Lottie and M, and this is from Lottie, and she says, "Hi guys, I've just finished listening to your podcast about orgasms, and I have 2 more to add to the list."
Ooh.
Okay, you interested?
I am.
I'd given myself a psychological brain orgasm through fantasizing about sexual acts I want to do or already have performed.
Oh.
She says.
Right.
This is an intense body rush from the midriff to the brain and the head. The next one is a funny one. When I've been desperate for a wee or a poo... and I get to the loo, I have had an orgasm of a mixture of extreme pleasure and relief from just letting it all go. Sigmund Freud says something about this, I believe, in his studies. She doesn't go into detail, so there you go, listeners. Something
you
for you
did do a bit of research. Yeah.
I don't know if this interests you, but I was quite disappointed that they weren't in the top list. And I'm now thinking maybe it's just me, and I'm weirder than I originally thought.
I'm sure you're not, sweetie. I'm sure you're not.
Yeah, Lottie, you're not weird. Not at all. I'm happy for you to mention this and me in your podcast if you think it's interesting enough. It sure is, Lottie.
Absolutely. Everybody's going to go and either... We might get messages saying, yep, no, that's me as well, or they might even Google it to see what old Freud had to say.
The wee one, I can kind of... Yeah, you get that relief. You go, ah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I suppose in a way that's not a lot of different to sneezing, is it?
It is. It's like an orgasmic relief, I suppose.
Interesting.
You learn something new every week on this podcast.
And listen here, guys, if anybody else has got ones that weren't on the list that we read out, please feel free to send them to us.
Yeah. What kind of weird orgasm have you had?
Weird? What do you mean weird?
Wow.
It's just, if you think about it, it's not weird, it's just natural.
It is, but you know, I wouldn't have expected an orgasmic poo.
Well, no, but hey ho.
Anyway, it's time for the main event, the Big M.
The Big M, yes.
As we've discussed, the Big M probably not as enjoyable as the Big O, but stick around because, as I say, most of the letters we get, especially from guys, are how can I get my lady, you know, more interested in sex? How can I get it into the naughty hobby? You know, how can I suggest things? And we've got a bundle. We've got an array. A whole array of tips for you.
Yeah, we've got Ray in the shed. We'll bring him out later.
Exactly.
The thing is, for us women that are either going through the Big M or have gone through the Big M, one of the biggest things that happens to you is you do lose your sex drive.
Well, to be more scientific...
Oh, OK, we're going all scientific here, are we?
More precise, Mrs N. So there was a survey by the British Menopause Society.
Yeah.
I bet that's a fun place to work at. Where do you work? I work for the British Menopause Society. I mean, where do they find these things? I've never heard it.
Never.
And according to them, almost 4 in 10 women, which is 37% interviewed, reported a loss of sex drive. So you're quite right. I mean, it's well over a quarter.
It's a tricky one because you have so many other things going on.
Yeah.
And part of the report says that a lot of women that are going through the menopause, they don't treat sex as an important part of their life. No,
and even fewer than 37% of those that said that they'd lost the sex drive, even fewer of them actually sought help or sought any sort of advice.
It kind of goes on the back burner because you're trying to deal with everything else. And that, my lovelies, is the wrong thing to do.
Okay.
So what you need to be doing is you need to make your sex life a priority because it has so many positive responses to your body and the way you live your life and how you feel about yourself, that it should be top priority.
And this is kind of coming, isn't it, Mrs N, from our own personal experience. You've described it as waves. You've had waves.
I do have waves, yes.
Where you felt very, very randy and very horny all the time, and then it drops off.
Yeah.
And you don't feel it so much.
Yeah.
And so, okay. So
and it's too easy to get into that rut of not talking about it, not communicating about it, not trying to do something about it. Because you get bogged down with the everyday, what life throws at you, as well as all other things that are going on with your body. And this is where we need to change.
And you can use this episode, you can use this podcast as your first tool. Listen to the podcast and then talk with your partner if you want to sort of help get through those feelings. And, you know, you can't sometimes certainly you can't dismiss those feelings.
No.
They're feelings and it's important to acknowledge them. And you need to offer more than sympathy going through it. You know, I appreciate the difficulties you've been through, Mrs N.
Thank you.
And I've tried to help in lots of ways.
You've been incredibly helpful, but that is because we always talk. So if I'm feeling in a particular way, I will say to you, I'm feeling this today, or I'm feeling that today, or I'm feeling very low. We've talked about it. My problem is sometimes when I'm not feeling particularly sexual, because of my problem with my damaged nerve endings, it gets very sensitive.
Yes.
It's not actually healthy for me not to have sex for a long time.
Are you listening, guys?
Because what happens is it increases the sensitivity down below. Whereas to have sex, not even to like full orgasm necessarily, but just to have sex helps to reduce the sensitivity.
It offers relief.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's almost training your brain to say, do you know what, I need to do this because it's going to help me.
I mean, that's a very interesting point you brought up with your personal medical case. But you could almost treat your relationship in the same way. So that if your sex drive takes a complete dive, you can say to yourself, okay, this isn't great for our relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying that you need sex for a great relationship, but sex in a relationship definitely enhances it and makes you closer to your partner.
Absolutely. I'm just going to read out a little bit of a list of the benefits from having sex. So some people will know this, some people might not know all of them. So to have sex, it improves your cardiovascular system. So it lowers the risk of heart disease and lowers your blood pressure.
It's more fun than jogging.
Exactly. It actually burns 5 calories a minute.
There you go.
Which is 4 more than watching TV.
More fun than Fat Club. So we can all cancel our subscriptions to Weight Watchers.
Yes, absolutely. It gives you a better immune system. It strengthens your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
It improves your self-esteem. It decreases depression and anxiety. It means you get a better night's sleep. It increases intimacy and bond with your partner, which is what you've just said, Mr. N.
Exactly.
It's good for reducing stress. And it can also make you look up to 7 years younger.
I didn't know.
Apparently. That's what he says.
Not 8 years. More than 6 years.
So, yeah.
It's very precise.
Very precise. 7 years.
So, ladies, if you're 47, going through the menopause, skip back to 40. Save money on all that collagen crap.
Just have sex more. It will save you a fortune.
Have a shag.
Yeah, have a shag. Have a shag. So, and this is what they're trying to say. So, despite the fact that it has all these properties, we still don't make it a priority.
Okay, we know sex is good. We know that it's good to have it. We now know the benefits. So, we've compiled a little list.
We have.
You can't just instantly expect to jump into the mood.
No. It doesn't work that way, does it, Mr. N, as you well know?
No, I've tried and failed. So, guys, here's our little list. We start off with communication. So if you communicate, as we said, and your partner just doesn't want to acknowledge it or acknowledge a problem, that in itself is a problem within the relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you have to be on the same page. And you have to be able to communicate to some level and admit. And it's not a case of, I want sex tonight and whatever. It's about getting in the scene ready.
Exactly. And I think a top tip for us girls, sometimes it's very easy to just blame your guy by saying, oh, well, you just want sex. That's all you want. It isn't about that.
It's not. We like cars, PlayStations, music.
That's not what I meant.
We like other things.
It isn't just about the sex. It's about feeling close to one another. It's about sharing intimacy with one another.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, if I'm not particularly feeling sexual, it doesn't mean to say that a kiss and a cuddle isn't going to help me, because it helps massively. Kissing, I love kissing. And it can get me going quite quickly.
So, again, if this was a marathon, we're talking about a warm-up, could be a little kiss.
Exactly. Kiss and a cuddle might not necessarily automatically quickly get you into a sexual feeling, but throughout an evening or whatever, then maybe it will. But it's just giving and sharing that intimacy with each other. It's going to certainly help to make you feel more like you want to have sex.
A bit sexy.
That was the word I was looking for.
The next thing I'm going to come to is the big E, which is exploring. So if you've been together for a little while, things can get a little bit stale, get a little bit bored. Even if your sex life has been a multitude of orgasms and menage a trois and all that malarkey, it can though, can't it? I mean, we ourselves have, I would say, had quite a wild ride and quite an exciting sex life, being involved in clubs and being involved in the naughty hobby.
Yes.
For as many years as we have.
Yeah.
But even that can become samey.
Yeah.
And so exploration, even if it's exploration of your brain is the biggest sexual organ you will ever own.
I'm not saying a word.
It's true. Mm-hmm. It's true. I've measured my brain against my brain's bigger. Damn. Anyway, it is. It's the most powerful and the most sexual organ you will own is your brain. And so explore different things. Explore toys. There's so many ways to explore your sexuality.
Absolutely.
And share it between you.
Yeah.
So even if you don't think you're into something, you might not be into BDSM, you might not be into kink and toys and things, just try different things. We ourselves obviously lucky enough to own vanillavixen.co.uk.
We do.
And we get certain toys sort of delivered to us all the time. And there's toys that we've looked at and gone, oh, we never would have bought that.
Yeah.
And then we've been introduced to things like pinwheels that we never would have even considered. We'd have took one look at that and gone, that is definitely not for us.
I've had a major orgasm while using a pinwheel.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So you've got to explore. And it's the old saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So, try it out.
Because you don't know it.
Yeah.
So try things that are out of your comfort zone. Probably try things that you wouldn't even have thought of. And listen to all the different podcast episodes and pick one out that you like, because we've covered a lot of things over the 120 episodes.
I know.
So exploration is definitely a big key.
Yes.
Which brings us nicely onto the second part, isn't it, Mrs. Anne?
Yep.
Okay.
So make sex a priority.
Absolutely right. If sex is something that you're doing in your spare time, but we joke, but if it's something that is always, if you're too knackered because real life gets in the way, you've got to look after the kids, you've got to do your work. Lots of people work from home these days, bring their work home, and everybody's knackered by the time they get into bed. And if your sex life is suffering because of that,
yeah, absolutely,
then you're not going to get the benefits.
You're not. I mean, basically, we need to take care of ourselves.
And sex is part of that.
Absolutely. So when you think to yourself, oh, I should be at the gym or I should be walking the dog or whatever, and you think, oh, I really can't be bothered, push yourself to do it, because you will always feel better for having that bit of exercise.
Planning ahead.
Yes.
I know that's sometimes difficult with sex, and we've spoken to people, and ourselves included. Planning sex is not always a great idea, but you could incorporate it perhaps into a date night.
Yeah. You see, this is the thing, that if you didn't live with your partner, but you were arranging to see each other, you make plans for what you're going to do that evening.
Absolutely.
So why don't us married people do that?
So true. We stop because real life takes over.
Yeah, but
like we've just said, the kids want entertaining, the kids want feeding, and most inconvenient little bastards. But they do. And, we've got the House of Hounds. Our dogs take up so much time.
Yes.
And there's always something. Work gets in the way, and there's always something. I mean, our work happens to be sex. We're lucky in that way. But, it's so true. And so at least one of the partners is knackered. And then often what happens is the guy goes off, and if he's a gamer like me, starts playing games instead. And so guys, turn off the PlayStation. I can't believe I'm saying that. But turn off the PlayStation. Pay some attention to your partner.
Absolutely. Don't get into the habit of when, you've done the dinner, kids are all sorted, you sit down, you think, I'm just going to have 10 minutes, watch a bit of TV, you fall asleep.
Hetty Wainthropp Investigates is not a substitute for sex. I don't care what you're watching, turn it off. Turn that shit off. Pay attention to your partner. Again, another good tip is take a shower.
Yes.
So take a shower together. Steamy shower.
Steamy shower.
But even if you've got the kids entertained downstairs or whatever, maybe try and sneak off. A shower together is really naughty.
It feels naughty, doesn't it?
Exactly. So if you can sneak off in the bathroom together and see if you can sneak a shower together in the evening.
Yeah.
See if you can get away with it. It will feel naughty. It will make you feel a little bit sexy.
A bit of spontaneity.
So what is your next tip, Mrs. N?
So I don't know whether a lot of people know this, but when you are going through the menopause, it can take us ladies longer to get aroused.
Okay.
So with that in mind, spend more time on foreplay.
Right.
So, it's not a sprint.
So what is your definition of foreplay, Mrs. N? What do you personally like?
So I personally like being kissed, being stroked. Massaged, absolutely.
So we could incorporate that, sort of get some nice massage oils in. Oils.
Yeah.
You can even get powders if you don't like oils. You can get lots of massage powders these days, which are really sexy, different sensations on the body.
Absolutely. I mean, just by getting things like, certain sex toys, like you just talked about a minute ago, there are so many things out there. It's not just about vibrators. There's so many different things and products that you can use to help stimulate, get those little juices flowing, so to speak. But don't think because it's not happening after 30 seconds that you're going to give up. It's just enjoy it. Take the time.
You could surprise your partner. Imagine the surprise by saying, okay, I'm going to give you a massage. And again, like we always say with swinger clubs and everything else that we talk about, go in with no expectations. So if you say to your partner, to your lady, tonight, I'm just going to give you a massage, you might get a happy ending at the end of it.
Exactly.
But go in with no expectations and just imagine the surprise when you just pull out a massage oil and say, I'm going to give you a full massage. Don't jump straight to the fanny because that will spoil it.
Well, I was just about to say this. It's not all about the penetration.
No.
And it's not an end goal, if you know what I mean. So, we've had incidences where we've probably just had foreplay or we've fantasised, not necessarily had penetrative sex, but it's still been the most amazing experience.
And then what's it like for you, because you've experienced this personally, where you've had a massage and the masseur, you've been completely naked and the masseur has gone all over your body apart from your naughty bits. How did that make you feel?
Oh my God, it absolutely drove me insane. Because it was I wanted it then. Because I hadn't had it, it was I really wanted it.
So the withdrawal and say, right, all I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a massage.
Yeah.
And go all around the bits. So you could start off with a towel, treat it like you were a real professional.
Yeah.
And go all over the body. Go on YouTube, watch some massage videos. There's loads of massage videos on YouTube. And surprise your lady with massage oil one night.
Exactly. See, this is quite a good tip because especially for people that have been married for a long time, you kind of get into that area where you think to yourself, well, we know each other inside and out.
Literally.
However, you need to kind of take time to explore each other's bodies again. Just because you've been together a long time and you know each other's ways and you know how each other likes sex and stuff like that.
I think we kind of grow accustomed to each other. But that's not actually really knowing your partner.
No, not at all.
We think we know our partner.
Yeah.
But we've been married 20 years, Mrs. N.
I know.
And we still don't know things. Only the other week I was discovering about your naughty dreams and things.
I know.
And it's because we talk on the podcast. And only the other year you discovered that your ankles were a huge erogenous zone.
Absolutely.
So it just goes to show that we don't even know ourselves. So we grow accustomed and we think we know about our partners. But I guarantee, giving them a massage, you're going to learn something.
That's it. Explore every single part of your partner's body. Because there might be areas there that you didn't know, or even they didn't know, actually turns them on.
Yeah.
Top tip as well, try banning penetrative sex for a couple of weeks.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine the build-up? So if all you're doing is almost like foreplay, or you're doing the sensual touching or lots of kissing, but you've said to each other, we're not going to have full sex, I can guarantee you're not going to last 2 weeks. You'll be wanting to rip each other's clothes off. It's a really good tip.
And also as well, if you think back to when we were going through a difficult time sexually, when you were going through a particular bad time with your sensitive nerve endings.
Yeah.
And so what did I do? I said, okay, we're literally going to stop and just go anal only.
Yeah.
And that instantly took all the pressure off of you.
Exactly.
Because you knew that I was not going to go near you.
Yeah.
So if you've got a partner that is literally just not into sex, not feeling it, and you say, okay, I don't, let's just put a couple of week ban on sex, that we're not, and you've probably, if you've got a partner that's going through those sort of emotions, they're going to probably, a 2 week ban if you've not had it for a few months or whatever, you probably don't feel that you need to say that, but do say that.
No, do, because I tell you why. Because a lot of women will think, oh, if the partner starts kissing, cuddling, the first thing you're going to think of, oh, here we go, they want sex.
Yeah.
Whereas you've already communicated to them, penetrative sex is off the table.
Yeah.
All we're going to do is just enjoy being with each other. I can guarantee that she is going to be a lot more receptive and a lot more relaxed, and then it will naturally just happen like it's supposed to.
Excellent.
It's a brilliant tip, that is. Absolutely brilliant tip.
So what's your next tip, Mrs. N?
Okay, so we've kind of briefly mentioned about sex toys.
Yes.
Sex toys and lubricants.
Lubes
can actually make you feel incredibly sexy.
Because your bodily functions and your body changes through menopause.
Obviously, when you're going through the menopause, one of the symptoms is that you become very dry. A lot of women suffer with vaginal dryness.
Yes.
Me included. And you were amazing. And as usual, you did loads of research. And we found this amazing product called Replens, which is a lubricant that women can put up inside you. It's
like a little drop, isn't it? Droplets.
Well, it used to come in like an applicator. So girls, if you're listening, if you've ever had thrush, which I'm sure most of you have, you can have the internal cream where it's in like an applicator. Well, this is a similar sort of thing. So you fill the applicator with the lubricant, insert it, and you just leave it up there, and it can last up to 3 days. And it's amazing. And even you said, Mr. N, didn't you, if we'd had sex while I was using this, it would feel different. You'd feel a lot more physically prepared.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel dry and tight and all that. So you're already relaxed. So I used that Replens.
It's called Replens MD. I'm just having a look at it now. And you can buy it on Amazon for around £8 to £9.
Yeah, absolutely. And I used it religiously for quite a while, several months. And as you're going through the menopause, your body changes all the time.
Yeah.
I haven't had to use it for a long time.
You've not actually, I've just noticed.
Absolutely, you see.
Yeah, it's Replens, spelled REPLENS space MD, and it's vaginal moisturiser.
It is. It's absolutely amazing stuff, and I highly recommend it.
Top tip. We've not really mentioned that too much on the show.
We haven't, and because obviously I'm very sensitive down there, I have to be very careful what I use, and that stuff was just amazing. So if you are quite sensitive, I can highly, highly recommend it.
And that we must make this sort of clear as well, that's not like a lube when you're just having sex.
No, not at all.
You can sort of squirt a little bit of that in.
I used to put some in first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And I would probably replenish, so to speak, every third day.
And it kind of replaces the natural lubricant within your vagina.
It does.
Throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on to actual lubricants.
Okay.
So we use one called Libido. Don't we?
Libido, which is available on vanillatavixen.co.uk.
Just happens to be, and we know because we have plugged it on the podcast many times before. A lot of the people that we know have actually tried and tested it.
Yeah, but it comes in different types.
Yes.
So Libido is the brand, and you can get different sort of types of it. You can get water-based. You can get our favourite, which is the hybrid.
Hybrid. We do like the hybrid one, don't we?
Which is a mixture.
It's water-based, and what's the other when it's hybrid?
It's mixed with silicone to make a hybrid lubricant.
Yeah, absolutely. So for that, when you use it, something called a double glide. So it's slippery. It gives a slippery feel. And it can then help you do the double glide technique, it says. So you're reducing any discomfort you have, which might put you off in the past. Because obviously I always used to say, it's too painful down there, I can't have sex.
Yes.
And it just stops all of that. And it does feel amazing.
Okay, so you're using your new lube that you found. Perhaps you could slow things down a bit like we talked about a little bit before.
Yeah, so where we've mentioned maybe put a ban on penetrative sex, especially if that's putting a bit too much pressure on your partner.
Yeah.
If that won't work for you, then why not try changing your goal? So a lot of people always assume that they need to get to the goal of an orgasm.
I think that's more for a guy. I've always said that.
I think guys like to be able to pleasure a woman, but they assume that the only way they can do that is to make them orgasm, and it's not true.
And it has been studies where guys almost feel that the end goal to sex is coming.
Yeah,
it's a natural ending to the sexual intercourse. And so you're saying don't do that.
No, take away that. I can't think of the word for it, but that the goal of you've got to get to the orgasm.
There'll be millions of guys listening to this all over the world now with blue balls. You are crippling a nation of sexy people.
No, I'm just trying to get people to sort of reprogram their brains a little bit.
Okay.
By saying the goal should be about the enjoyment.
Yes.
The enjoyment of exploring, the enjoyment of sensuality, the enjoyment of discovering each other again, not necessarily having an orgasm. And
let's be honest, if you've been together for a few years, it can get into that repetitive circle of just, okay, a little bit of foreplay, penetration, come in, and then finish it.
And the other thing is sometimes with guys, especially like, I mean, you and I, when we've done the hot wife thing and we've met a single guy, maybe at home or whatever, it's quite daunting to suddenly think, I've got to perform.
Yeah.
Take that pressure away.
And I remember when we first got together, Mrs. N, obviously it was a second relationship for you.
Yeah.
You'd already been married before. And you've already said, you've shared intimate parts of that when we first started having sex, you were absolutely blown away because my style, guys, I'm giving you my MO here. My MO was not to kind of jump on penetrative sex and then go for it and come.
No.
I like to do a little bit, stop, play, change a little bit of a style to it, do a bit, and that literally blew you away.
Yeah.
And changed how you looked at sex.
Absolutely. My previous marriage was very much, it was just the act. And it was the act of satisfaction for him. Wasn't a lot of satisfaction for me, unfortunately.
But that's an easy rut to fall into.
Absolutely. And then obviously because of my problem as well, and I'm quite open to say that in the last couple of years of our relationship, before it completely broke down, we didn't even have sex at all.
Which is often what can happen if it becomes stale. That's like a normal route that it can end up down. But we're saying you don't have to go that far, and you don't have to have a new partner to experience what you experienced, Mrs. N.
Exactly.
You can take a step back and change the rhythm of your sexual fun.
I absolutely loved the first time that we had sex because of the fact it was so relaxed, and like you said, we'd play for a little bit and then we'd stop, and we'd probably have a naughty chat or a little giggle or something, and then we'd get playing again, and it just took my mind away from the whole when's it going to finish kind of thing, because it made it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Which is what sex should be. It should be fun. That's the whole point of it. So, yeah, this is why you have to experiment, try different things, even if you've been together for years.
And that goes for sexual rhythm, how you're actually doing it, positions, everything. Just look at everything that you're doing. Even if you're doing it in the same room, change it, go to a club, do something different.
Absolutely. If you're going to do it on the stairs, though, watch the carpet burns. Plays havoc.
So this kind of brings us on to our next little tip, Mrs. N.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of going into the sex books for this one.
Okay.
It's understanding libido. So obviously, during menopause, 37% of the survey said that they had a lack of sexual desire.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between your libido that's controlled by the brain and actual physical arousal.
Oh, okay.
So, first of all, you lose your libido. It's happening in the brain.
Yes.
Okay? But actual sexual arousal happens with blood flow to the vagina, increased vaginal lubrication like we talked about.
Yeah.
Swelling of the external genitalia and vulva, as we know. But that's a physical thing. So again, that can be helped with the massage.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can't get there until you've kind of accepted that you've got that loss of libido.
Yeah. And this is where the communication side comes in. It's so important that you tell your partner what you're feeling and how you're feeling. It might be difficult for them to understand because they're not going through it, but it doesn't mean to say they don't care. So it's important that you do communicate when you are feeling certain ways, and then it opens up the conversation to, okay, well, what can we do? How can we make this better?
And here's where we get to understanding the difference between libido, not lube, the libido and the actual physical arousal. So if the guy's already like really horny and wanting sex, you can't jump to the massage state and start rubbing a fanny frantically first.
No.
Because you've got to take a step back and get her into a similar page, not the same page because you're not going to be on the same page, but you've got to get her onto a similar page as yourself and go, okay, she's not feeling it. And you've got to understand and set the scene first, which is what we said earlier on.
Absolutely.
Set the scene, set a date night, where then you can say, okay, now move on to the next bit, which is sexual arousal.
Definitely. That's a really good point, that obviously one is triggered by the brain, the other one is triggered by a physical thing. So don't always assume that it's the same thing, because it isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our next tip is solo play.
Oh.
So, ladies, you don't have to be cajoled into this, groomed, if you like, into sexual intercourse with your partner. So remember, there's always solo play, which can help you.
No, well, the thing is, when you say solo play, are you basically talking about you go off and do it on your own, or are you saying that you play with yourself in front of your partner, but they don't actually touch you?
Well, it's literally as well, solo play. Remind yourself, because when you've completely lost your libido and, you know, your brain is totally turned off, sometimes you need to switch that switch in your head.
Yeah.
And turn that back on again. And that can be sometimes finding yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
finding different things, fantasies that turn you on. So our top tip is a clitoral vibrator.
Ooh.
Okay, get yourself a good toy, a clitoral vibrator, because it's obviously it avoids the pressure of penetration.
That's true.
So a nice clit vibrator, a really nice quality one, gentle silicone one. It won't add too much pressure in your bits and pieces down there.
See, I have to be really careful with what vibrators that I use because the normal ones that go inside, I can't use those. They're too
rigorous.
They're too vigorous for me. So, but we actually went to a sex shop once and we had a conversation with the guy there, didn't we? Explained what my problem was, and he recommended me. It's a pebble.
A pebble. There's many pebble vibrators. We do them on vanillatoVixen.co.uk.
Yeah, I absolutely love this toy. We've had it quite a few years now, and it's the best thing ever because it doesn't. I don't have to insert it. It literally just sits on top.
Yeah.
Makes me orgasm every single time.
And you can, if you could go for a pebble one, try one of those, or there's obviously ones like the rabbit ears with the little tiny clip vibrators.
You can get little wands, the wands, because I have a smaller version and I just rub that over the top, and again it will have the same effect.
It's very difficult when you've lost your libido to actually think, okay, I really don't want to do this, and it's the last thing on your mind. But sometimes taking yourself off and just rediscovering what actually turns you on.
Yeah.
Try out porn sites. You have your own porn, your own flavour of porn that you like, don't you, Mrs. N?
Oh, I do. I love the very cheesy porn films that have a proper storyline to them. I love the build-up.
Yeah.
It's all about the build-up for me.
I think it's probably fair to say that masturbation and porn is traditionally it's a more of a male pastime, isn't it? Traditionally. But I think in the case of sometimes when you are, if you wanted to make the effort and try and rediscover your sex life, sometimes you need to just go back a little bit.
Yeah, that is so true.
Just discover yourself and discover what you like, and then you could perhaps go to your partner, hey, I did this, or I looked at this, I saw this. Again, that might just rejuvenate the naughtiness between you.
Yeah, I mean, we recently have been watching quite a few 70s porn films, haven't we? So we snuggle up in bed, spooning. We'll put your phone on the stand and we'll get a good porno film on, and I can guarantee we never get to see the end of it. And it's just something as simple as that.
But again, communicate that to your partner, because the last thing you want to do is make your partner feel excluded, and especially if you've probably not been having sex as much as you used to, and then all of a sudden go, oh yeah, by the way, I went off and frigged myself off.
Yeah.
You don't want them to feel excluded, that, oh, okay, so we've not done it for a few months or whatever, or a month or a few weeks, whatever the case.
Yeah.
And then you go off and masturbate. You don't want to trigger them and make them feel excluded. That situation could make them feel that you don't desire them anymore. So it's important to say, look, I just want a little bit of time. I'm just experimenting, and just see how you go.
If you feel comfortable enough, you could even video it and then just say, I've got something for you.
Yeah.
And then they still feel included, even though you were doing the act by yourself.
How about kind of like you could have a little naughty... You see, here's where my brain just kicks in now.
I saw how excited you got then.
So you could have where the lady just makes a video for her partner.
Yeah, exactly.
And say to yourself, that's all you're going to do for 2 weeks.
Yeah. You're
not actually going to have physical sex. See how long you can last.
I mean, I really get turned on watching you masturbate. I love it. And a lot of women do like it.
What, watching me masturbate?
Well, they may well do. I don't know how many have watched you masturbate, darling, but it works for me.
But you're right, that in as much as masturbation is so important, and we again, it's something that we don't remember, we forget, and we just kind of move on. And especially, like I say, if your libido is low, the last thing you want to do is, if you're not feeling hungry, the last thing you want to do is sit down to a gourmet dinner. Or even a quick burger. But sometimes to get you on track, just, experiment and try different things.
Exactly. Just a nibble here and there.
And our last tip for this big M,
the big M
part of the show, is a positive mindset.
Yes.
And if you going to be extremely negative, and it is, I really do sympathise with ladies going through the menopause, because I've watched you, Mrs. N, and it's horrible because it affects your mood so much. And it's very difficult, the physical symptoms that you're going through, and combine that with how it makes you feel, and you're bound to become negative at times.
Yes.
And so try and keep a positive mindset and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to try and just do 15 minutes of positiveness every day. And you needn't go as far as starting a yoga class or doing anything crazy like that. You can do something as simply as a weekly gratitude letter to yourself. Writing a weekly letter about what you're thankful for in your life. And that can have like a massive positive effect on your mental well-being and your mental thinking and how you think about things. I myself am a massive fan of meditation, and there's loads of meditation videos and how to meditate on YouTube. Sit and just have a look at a few of those and just practice quiet meditation for 15 minutes every day, even 10 minutes, and you will notice a change. And try and keep that positive mindset and thinking about your sex life. Yeah.
Again, like we said right at the beginning, should be making it a priority as part of our life.
Absolutely. And if you're looking at sex as a negative thing because you don't feel like doing it, you have to remember how much fun sex can be.
Yes.
Which is very, very difficult. If you're feeling in that negative mood, and especially if your partner's wanted it and you've not wanted it, it can be very easy for sex itself to become almost the enemy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so once you're on that track, if you think, okay, how do I actually feel about sex? Even though you don't desire it,
yeah.
What does sex mean to me? And if you're sitting there going, I'd rather have a cup of tea.
Yeah, that's not good.
Then if you're sitting there thinking that, then kind of got bad news for you. You're already kind of in a negative state about sex itself. And so if it's a case of then, just thinking to yourself, okay, I need to think more positively about this.
Definitely. And also, because it's very easy for us to get sort of self-absorbed with what we're dealing with, because it is a lot to deal with. Just try and give a little bit of thought to your partner and try and think of them as well. Because if you do that, they're more likely to be able to help you. And
we're not talking, are we? I think we must make it really clear that we're not talking about going through the motions just to satisfy your partner.
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, no. I understand, but that's going to help nobody in the long run.
No.
Because it will just make you resent sex even more.
Yeah.
And, if you're doing sex as a favour for your partner, that's not a good thing.
No.
You've got to find common ground where you're both feeling positive about sex, even if you're not seeking the orgasm yourself, but you can get pleasure through pleasure in your partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then that's something that you could concentrate on.
Yeah. And also, if you can do that and you are enjoying these things again, it's going to help you to deal with all the things that are thrown at you while you're going through the big M.
Absolutely. And you'll find that your relationship's closer, and you should find that your relationship remains more healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We know it's a minefield. We know it's difficult. We hope we've given you some tips when one person's not quite feeling the horn, so to speak. We know it's difficult. We've been there ourselves.
We have.
And if you've got tips yourself that we've not covered on this podcast, then please send them in, because honestly, it really does help other people. And that's the main thing. It's all about sharing our experiences and saying you're not going through this alone, and there's people that have been through it before you and people that will go through it after you. So to offer those words of wisdom and advice, it really helps others.
It does.
So, yes, that's that jungle of the Big M navigated.
Moving on from the Big M.
Yes.
I've got a question for you, Mr. N.
Okay.
Which generation do you think is most satisfied with their sex life?
Oh, I was good. My mind instantly went 20s to 30s, but I'm not sure. I think you get more confident, so I'm going to say 45 to 50. I think. Okay,
so we are collectively known as we're not I can't even say
we're not millennials.
We're not millennials. What are we?
We're Generation X. We're badass.
We're Generation X, aren't we?
Generation X was the badass generation.
That's what we are.
We had cool bikes. We had the best bikes. We had everything when we were kids. You know, we did not have social media. Well, hey, good for us.
Well, there's been a survey, and this new survey has come along to say that the best generation that is enjoying sex is actually the Generation Z or Z.
No.
The Gen Zs.
No.
They apparently have the upper hand.
No, I'm not accepting. No.
So they
did. No, carry on. I'll just talk over you.
No, that's fine. You can talk over me, but I'm going to give you the facts anyway.
Talking of which, have you heard? I've just got to slip this in here.
Oh, steady.
The Generation Z, obviously in America, this is quite hilarious. Generation Z, there's been quite a few on TikTok. It's been one of the latest TikTok movements,
right,
amongst radical Generation Z feminists in America, and it's called the 4B movement, and it originally started in South Korea. And it's basically like these radical feminists that don't believe in having sex with men at all, not getting married, no sex, no children. And some of the feminists in America are shaving their heads on TikTok and totally dedicating themselves to the 4B movement. So because Kamala lost the election, there's actually a very small minority of woke liberal young ladies that have started this movement to just deny men sex.
Why?
I don't know. I don't honestly know. But then I looked at some of them and thought,
Okay. Okay.
Will it actually make a difference if those few loonies deny men sex? I don't know. I'm going very unpolitically correct.
You are very unpolitical.
Let's move on quickly.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you. So they did a study on 2,000 sexually active people, different age groups, and found out that 52% of them that were born between 1997 and 2006 were very satisfied with their current sexual experiences.
So it's Generation Z.
Yes.
I'm really struggling to...
Yeah, so the figure is higher than any other generational group, with millennials, I can't even say that word, trailing behind at 50%, and the baby boomers at 45%.
Okay.
So that's kind of the baby boomers and Generation X, which is what we are, born between 1965 and 1980.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody beat us by about 3%. I don't agree with that, because I think Generation X, there's more of us that are out there in the naughty hobby, surely.
I mean, 3%, perhaps they just found like people that prefer, I don't know, gardening. I don't know. 3% is such a small amount. It's not like, 20%.
Out of 2,000 people, that is.
Yes, 3% is still a small amount. They might just have found boring people.
But you see, collectively, people think that the younger generation are having less sex.
I think...
What?
I think if this... I take it this is an American survey.
It is an American survey,
right,
yes.
I know what's happened here. I can bring light on this situation. Clearly what has happened, the Generation Zers are all Trump supporters.
Okay. So
they're not the liberals that are withholding sex. That is clearly what's happened there.
So they reckon here, so what they're saying is that Generation Zs, they have an approach where they're a bit slower and more intentional. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
I don't know.
So they're engaging with intimacy in a more nuanced way.
I'm not sure I believe any of this.
Yeah, so he says, unlike previous generations, which may have emphasised casual hookups, the Generation Z places greater importance on meaningful connections and personal satisfaction.
We have talked about this before.
We have.
Where the Generation Z... They're not as rock and roll.
They're not.
As Generation X.
They're not.
Generation X are badass, I tell you. And so we do, I think, party harder. Nightclubs were bigger things when we were young.
Yeah, massive.
Generation Z don't do nightclubs.
No.
You know,
it's all social media.
It's social media. It's your Taylor Swift, where she writes songs, deep, meaningful songs about her ex-partners, a lot of them. I'm not having to go at all the Swifties, but it's true. And whereas, you know, you think back to our teenage years, the songs were kind of written mainly before the rock star passed out with a mixture of substances used, shall we say. Rock stars, and that's when the television went out the hotel window. Generation X was more badass. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it says here that with the Generation Zs, it's a desire for deeper engagement and authenticity, which allows them to have better communication when it comes to their needs and desires. Combined with being more clued in on sex-positive discourse, it ultimately helps to have a more satisfying sex life. I'm not sure I'm believing this.
I think it sounds way too woke. I think that word, general authenticity, that's already put me off. This is way too woke, Mrs. N.
It says part of this generational shift in attitudes towards sex and intimacy stems from Generation Z's digital-first mindset.
What a load of crap.
So growing up with the internet and exposing Generation Zs to the wealth of information about sex, relationships and identity.
Oh, okay. I can understand that. We talked about this a little bit before as well, in as much as there was a lot less education around sex when we were younger. I don't mean sort of formal education of how to do it. We had sex education in school. We're not that old, you know.
Yeah, but if you think back... the ages that we were when we had sex education, we were sort of 11 to 13.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the kids are being taught at the ages 10 to 11.
Which is a real hot potato.
Isn't it?
We won't get into that. But, yeah, I mean, there was a lot less informal sex education. We talked about, you know, we had a few jazz mags and things like that. Whereas Generation Z have the internet. Need we say any more? So it's almost like freely gratified all over the place.
Yeah.
They don't need to go and heavily seek it.
And I suppose the other thing is, with our generation, when you started to have sex with people, it was an exploration. So you had to find out what each other liked and how it worked and everything else.
But that new survey, that thing that you're reading... It says that Generation Zers are putting more into the actual deepness of the relationship.
Yes.
Which is probably not a bad thing.
Maybe not, although they do go on to say that it isn't all positive, though.
Okay.
But it has allowed them to acquire, like you said, a deeper understanding of what they personally might be interested in.
Do you think that it is a deeper fulfillment than our shallow shenanigans?
I don't know, actually. I mean,
I think we did pretty well out of it.
I don't think we do too badly, do we? I mean, the lady that did the survey goes on to say that the access to diverse perspectives has empowered people to explore sexual desires and needs more confidently. The Generation Z's digital landscape has also given rise to new ways of forming connections.
Really?
Apparently. So
you think you could have a deeper relationship over social media or the digital networks?
Well, not me personally, but this is what she's saying about the Generation Zs.
I don't agree with that at all.
She says that dating profiles resembling newspaper personal ads and online communities where people meet through shared interests. They're nothing like the personal ads.
No.
For one, you didn't get a photograph in the personal ads. You had to just...
Wing it. This is absolute nonsense. So what we've actually discovered is don't listen to any surveys. ignore sex experts and just do your own thing.
Exactly. I mean, I can go on if you wish me to go on, which might make you feel a little bit better about this. So she then goes on to say, while Generation Zs lead the pack in sexual satisfaction, the other generations, especially millennials, also reported high levels of contentment. So increasingly, 30% of respondents from the silent generation, those born between 1925 and 1945, said they were very satisfied.
Oh, this is ridiculous. 1925, they're talking to Charlie Chaplin. For any Generation Zers, he was an old actor. Silent films. Let's forget all about this.
Yeah.
Let's ignore all sex experts. Guys, do your own thing. Enjoy your time. Remember, it's a short ride.
Although saying that the lady that did the survey to begin with about menopause said that on average women live till they're about 89.
Yeah.
So we've got plenty of years left in us for good sex.
Absolutely. And the silent generation seem to be more satisfied than anyone.
Well,
so
exactly.
We've discovered on this show it just gets better as you get older, guys.
Exactly. We're like fine wines.
And that just means we're about out of time. So we've got time to tell you there is one last party left.
Yes, because tonight
is Vegas Vixens. If you're watching this on the time of release. If you're not on the time of release of this podcast, that's already happened. You missed a blast. And we've got our Christmas party on the 21st of December. It's the Vanilla to Vixen big Christmas party at Liberty Elite Private Members Club.
Yes, and the guest list is open.
Send us a message on Fab Swingers. We are Naughty Couple, spelled NAUGHTYCP1. You can find us on Fab Swingers. You can find us via the old-fashioned thing, the silent generation use, called email. We are Naughty Couple, NAUGHTYCP1 at yahoo.com. And you can find us on Elon Musk's excellent X. We are Naughty Couple, spelled NAUGHTYCOUP1E. The one is an L. It's all very confusing. Anyway, we will be back.
We will be back
next week, and we have got a big thing to tell you soon. This big thing for next year with Vanilla to Vixen and V2V. It's all kind of changing, and it's going to get bigger and better, and we've got lots of exciting things happening.
We certainly have. So the new year is going to be awesome.
See you next week, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.